Hello and welcome back to the Beach Volleyball Network. My name is Kevin Knight and I will be doing this video alone tonight. I will be bringing you the bracket for the AVP America Beach Nationals held in Clearwater Beach, Florida at the Siesta Key Sand Resort. This is a tournament that is near and dear to my heart. It's the first one I played outside of my home region of North Carolina. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it happen this year, but there's some pretty amazing teams taking the courts at this event. So some familiar faces to me, like Angel Dace and Jeff Samuels, going to be taking on the likes of J.D. Hamilton, Travis McWhirter, Evan Corey, Piotr Marciniak, Bruno Amorim, Tim Baumgren, Andy Benesh, Eric Baranek, Cody Caldwell, Chris Vaughn, and more. There's going to be some really amazing talent down that way. So we got a 46 team bracket tonight, and I'm going to blow through it pretty quickly. I'm not going to go through the contenders bracket because there's just one of me in a lot of matches. The 46 team bracket will be played on Saturday, and I believe if there's any flow over, if the sun goes down, for example, the rest will be finished on Sunday. I really wish I could be there, but I'm so excited about these matchups and this tournament and to see the results that I just figured I'd do my own pre-tournament bracketology video. So Graham Wren, my normal co-host, has been kind enough to provide me with the bracket, which I have sitting next to me on the computer. So if I'm looking away from the screen, that is why. I've got the bracket and the teams involved sitting right next to me. And I am in my one-bedroom studio apartment in Chapel Hill, really just wanting to see who's going to play who and try and predict how it's all going to go down. I'm sure I'll be right, and I'm sure I'll be very, very wrong in a number of cases. If I don't know who you are, I apologize. I hope to meet you in the future. And I do have a couple trusty coins to use in the case that I really have no idea who's going to win. So without further ado, let's break into the winners bracket matches. Eric and Andy, the 1 seed, are going to have a bye, and the 32 play the 33 to get to them, and that match will be John Lindsay and Tyler Baruch versus David Fennon and Stephen Queckel. So I'm actually not sure who any of these guys are. So I'm just gonna have to coin flip this one. We'll go heads is 32, tails is 33. It is heads. So John Lindsay and Tyler Baruch will end up taking that one and see Eric and Andy in the next round. And I'm fairly certain that I will have Eric and Andy winning that one. Sorry guys, I just don't know who you are. The next round, the 17 sees the 16 seed. I guess that's technically the round after. The 17 looks to be Ian Bicko, my buddy, and Edward Mashikian, also a good friend of mine. Eddie is maybe only 5'10", but has the springs to split block or full-time block even from time to time. And Ian is a talented 6'8", 6'9", great hand-setting blocker. So this team should be fairly formidable. And they'll be playing the 16 seed, which is Peyton Young and Justin Phipps. Peyton, I think, played with Ian in a recent tournament, so that's kind of a funny first round matchup if that's what the bracket holds. Justin Phipps is a longtime player in Clearwater Beach. He's known to be fiery at almost all times, but really, really great hand setter and very stable passer and side-out player in serve receive. He's by far got the most years under his belt on that court, maybe more than the other three combined. And definitely has made some deep runs in this tournament, so it's going to be hard to pick against him early. That being said, I think Ian and Eddie have a good thing going, and after watching these two guys play together, I'm gonna go with the upset. I'm gonna go with Ian and Eddie, the 17 over the 16. So sorry Phipps if you end up watching this, although I don't know how many viewers or not we're gonna get. But I'll have the 17 upsetting the 16 in this case. I'm going to take Ian Bicko and Eddie in this one. Just going to mark that down for myself to remember. So they will end up seeing Eric and Andy in the round of 16. One moment. Sorry about that. Just updating my bracket. All right. And actually, you know what? I'm just gonna finish that quadrant because that just makes the most sense to me right now. So I'm gonna have Eric and Andy taking down my guys Ian and Eddie. Eric and Andy are the #1 seed of the event. If you don't know, they're both AVP pros and they're incredibly talented and great at what they do. So I think that they have a bit too much of high-level experience for Ian and Eddie to get through. But that that match really could go 3 if Eddie comes out bombing jumpers. And the blocking matchup is of course going to be fun with Andy at a true 6'8" and a very, very talented young blocker on the tour, and Ian at 6'8" or 6'9" and kind of rising himself. That said, I'm going with Eric and Andy in this one. All right, so the next quadrant of the bracket, we have the 24 seed, who's Jack Peterson and Ben Whitley, according to the most recent update of our Nationals event. And the 41 seed, who as of now is, that's the landmine team. That is Chris Long and Austin Rester. For those of you who don't know, Austin Rester has made the main draw on the AVP a number of times. He's a very strong, very tall blocker at about 6'7". Chris Long, from what I remember, people telling me he was on the NVL main draw a number of times. I got the chance to play against him, very on the grass surface actually. Very fast, very crafty lefty defender, and these guys are a riot. Great guys. No fun to play against though. So I'm actually going to take the 41, upsetting the 24 in this case. And the winner of that will end up playing against Chris Frazier and Brad Connors. Frazier is a New York City staple up in the Northeast region. He's a chess champion actually, and about a 6'4", 6'5", very, very springy blocker. Recently developed pretty good hand setting ability as well. Brad Connors is a Clearwater Beach native. I think either Clearwater or Tampa. Plays all the tournaments down that way. He's been winning quite a bit. This is the 9 seed. So I'm gonna, Austin Rester and Chris Long, really good team together. They match well. They could definitely pull some upsets early in the day. That said, Frazier and Connors, I think, are going to be really strong. I think they've played a couple events together. It's definitely a split blocking team, which plays into both their strengths as strong side out players. And I think again that this one probably could go 3, but I'm going to take the 9 seed over the 41. I'll have Frazier and Connors winning that one. All right, let's go back to the beginning of the bracket here. Our next matchup is let's see, and keep in mind if any of these seeds change before tomorrow morning, all of these matchups could be different. So take that for what it's worth. The next matchup will be Rob Vipond, I think, at the 25. Let me double check and make sure here. Yes, Rob Vipond and Cosby Sand. Glad to see that young gun out there. Rob is Nashville, I think. Either Nashville or somewhere close to Nashville in Tennessee. And Cosby Sand is a young, I want to say he's still in high school guy out of Ohio. So really cool to see those guys getting out there and getting after it. The 25 seed. And they unfortunately run into Dylan Auxier, who I think I played against in college if he went to Concordia University. Not entirely sure. Very, very solid ball control athlete. Only 79 points, so obviously not playing a lot of tournaments. And then a guy named Brandon Joyce, who I'm not sure if I know or not, at the 40 seed. This is tough. I think I'm actually going to go with the 40 seed on this one in the upset. I think that's a little bit more fun. I know that Dylan Auxier is a good player from back in his indoor days, and I know that at that point he had played some beach. And he's done pretty well in past tournaments. So I'm going to go, sorry about that, Cosby, if you end up watching it. I'm going to go with the guys that have the lower seed here and try and pick an upset. We'll see if that happens. And if it does, feel free to let me know about it. So that puts Auxier and Joyce against, JD Hamilton and Travis Mewhirter. If you guys didn't know, Travis McWhirter started his beach volleyball career down on the Panhandle, and one of the guys that was probably one of the top dogs on that scene at the time was John Hamilton, JD. He recently moved to Florida, to the Tampa area, I guess, different part of Florida, and these two are running it back for, I guess, old time's sake. JD is a small but very explosive defender, and Travis McWhirter, I think most people know, is physically pretty dominant, 6'5", 6'5" lefty blocker. So JD will be on the left, Travis will be on the right, and they'll probably run a ton of crazy shoot sets, back sets, and also have a ton of fun. So I'm going to go with JD and Travis there, which puts them up against Fraser and Connors in the 8 versus 9 match. That's going to be a really tough one. 8 and 9 seeds are always really close matches for a reason. But the issue is that there's only one true defender on this court, and that's JD Hamilton, and he's got a lot of really good chemistry with Travis McWhirter. So in the 8 versus 9 match, so JD and Travis versus Connors and Fraser, I think I'm going to go with JD and Travis for the crafty offense and the good times that they've had. So in that quadrant of the bracket, and I'll get back to this one later, we end up with Andy and Eric versus JD and Travis, and that would end up being the 1 versus 8 round. I'm actually going to move to the next quadrant before returning to these because I'm kind of just rolling right along. And we have the 28 versus the 37. The 37, according to the last updated entry list on the Clearwater site, is Phil Maravicius, who I think has played a number of events with Anthony Winter up in Ohio. I'm not sure where he's from, but he seems to be a pretty solid ball control defender. And then a guy named Danny Gallagher, who I don't think I've ever met before. That's the 37 seed, and they'd be taking on the 28, who would be Adam Homan, who I know is from the Florida area, and Lev Gershfield, who I'm not entirely sure who that is. So I'm going to leave this one up to chance. 28 is going to be heads, and 37 is going to be tails. We'll see how it goes. All right, we got heads. So our 28 seeds moving on, Adam Homan and Lev Gershfield. No idea if that's going to be hold true or not tomorrow, but figure we got to pick in some way, and that's an easy way to do it. And that puts them up against Cody Caldwell and Ben Vaught. That's a great 6'5", 6'6" blocker and a very physical probably 6'2" lefty defender. Vaught's made a number of main draws, and I think Cody Caldwell's been either close or has broken on a couple times. I think it's pretty obvious. I mean, you got a low seed playing against two guys that have been doing this essentially for a living for a while. So I'm going with Caldwell and Vaught in the 5 versus the 28. And then in the next quadrant of the bracket, we have the 21 and 44, and they'll be playing into my guy TJ Yurko and Caleb Queckel. So let's find out. Our 21 seed tomorrow will be Kyle O'Neill. Ooh, that's tough. Kyle O'Neill and Dom Van Cleek, two very solid Northeast guys. And they'll be playing against the 44, who will be Behringer, Rank, and Jack Williams. I'm going to go with the guys I know. I know that Kyle O'Neill and Van Cleek come to play. I think they've done very well or won an event this year together. And so I'm just going to take them over the guys that I don't. So O'Neill and Van Cleek end up playing my guy TJ Yurko, who I've done quite well with in Myrtle, and Caleb Queckel, who I've heard only extremely good things about. He's a really young guy in high school, very, very springy. I've heard that he's been training with Phil Dahlhauser, and Phil thinks the world of him. So if you got one of the best guys to ever do it, in your corner, you must be somebody special. So he's definitely, if you haven't heard of Caleb Queckel, you heard it here. Phil Dahlhauser thinks highly of him. So check him out. He's online. It says he's got about 400 points. So he's definitely won or placed highly in some big events. So I'm sure Queckel and Yurko will be a tough team to deal with at the 12 seed. So I'm going to go with TJ Yurko and Caleb Queckel over Kyle O'Neill and Dom Van Cleek. And then, so that leaves Cody Caldwell and Ben Vaught versus TJ Yurko and Caleb Queckel, and that's the 5 versus the 12. I will say I'm a little biased here because I think TJ is playing the best ball of his life, and he can absolutely take over a match from time to time, depending on who's playing with. And from what I've heard about Queckel, I think it's entirely possible that this team upsets this. So I'm going to take the 12 over the 5 in this case. I'm going to take TJ and Caleb Queckel over Ben Vaught and Cody Caldwell. Got to pick some upsets, right? I mean, otherwise it's kind of boring. You're just picking the high seed every time. So that ends up with TJ and Caleb taking over the 5 seed. So let's see who's next. We're going back down to the bottom portion of our bracket here. I wish I could show you. I mean, I guess I can, but you're not gonna be able to see much. Yeah. So this is what I'm doing. I'm getting teams all the way out to about here, and then I'm moving back to the next little quadrant, and I'm moving on. There's probably a better way to do this. I haven't figured it out, and I don't really plan on figuring it out at the moment. Maybe next year. But this has worked for us so far. All right. We have Nick. Oh wait, let's see. We have the 20. We have the 20 into the 45. So 45 seed is a guy named Norge Puentes and Brian Ream. I think Brian Ream has been putting out some sort of volleyball content. I've definitely seen it on Facebook. Not entirely sure, but I definitely know the guy cares a lot about the game and plays a lot. And I think I've played against or seen Puentes play, and he was pretty solid as well. So it's a tough 45 seed. Let's go check out who our 20 seed is that they're playing into. 20 seed is Nick Fusili and Ryan Charterina. Ryan Charterina I know from the New Jersey area. I think Fusili is as well. I think that both of these guys have been playing the game for 5 or 6 years, and they definitely know how to show out and play on a harder packed surface. I think I'm going to go with Fusili and Charterina in this one. I'm not sure who the guy is that Brian Ream is playing with. So I think I'm going to take the 20 over the 45. Let's see, Charterina. And then they play in a Joe Asmani and then Yenser Del Nogal Moreno. I know that those guys have been training quite a bit. I know that from talking to TJ and some of the other Florida crew. Joe Asmani's had some great finishes recently. They're the 13 seed in the event. So, Ryan, I love him a lot. He's a great trash talker, and he definitely makes the parties a lot more fun. But I think I'm going to go with the Florida boys on this one with Asmani and Yenser. All right, so we're moving right along here. We got the 29 seed next. It's Trevor Dick and Cleavon Williams. I don't know either of them. Apologize, guys. Just haven't played against you. And then we got the 36 seed Lucas Adlam and Tyler Shirk. So I don't know either of these teams, which means it comes back down. Dropped my quarter. Comes back down to a coin toss. So a coin toss for, again, this is Clearwater AVP American Nationals, 29 versus 36. We got tails this time, so the lower seed's upsetting this one. Lucas Adlam and Tyler Shirk. According to our website, they are Florida boys, so that would actually make sense. We'll see if it happens. If it does, feel good about that. Adlam, Shirk, and they end up unfortunately getting the 4 seed next, which is Chris Vaughn, New Jersey boy, and Andrew Dentler, also up from the Northeast originally, and I think living out in California now. These two have played together in a lot of events. They definitely both played on the NVL. They've been playing beach volleyball for a long time, and I don't think the 36 seed is going to be able to take down the 4 seed on this one. So I think it's pretty cut and dry. I think Chris Vaughn and Andrew Dentler take this. So that puts Vaughn and Dentler up against Asmani and Yenser at the 4 versus the 13. And only because I haven't seen Asmani and Yenser play together, and I did get to see Vaughn and Dentler at Grass Nationals, and I've also seen them in a couple other events. I think I'm going to go with the experience on this one and say the 4 seed, Vaughn and Dentler, are going to take down Asmani. So Vaughn and Dentler are moving on, and that puts them up against TJ Yurko and Caleb Queckel on that side of the bracket. Because I didn't pick the Andy and Eric and JD and Travis match, I'm not going to pick the Yurko Queckel and Vaughn Dentler one yet. But that's in the same quarter of the bracket. All right. Moving on to the 3 seed portion of the bracket. We have the 30 seed against the 35 seed. 35 seed is Simon Tralco and John Caligar. Don't know either of these guys. And the 30 seed is Christopher Schaefer and Lior Schiffer. Don't know either of those guys. Again, love to meet you. Don't know you. Sorry about that. Coin toss it is. We got tails on this one. So the 35 seed apparently is going to upset the 30 seed on this one. So we got Trauka and Kaligar moving on to play against Piotr Marciniak and DJ Klasnik. So this is an interesting team, obviously, because you've got Piotr, who's a main draw staple, usually plays right side, very, very solid blocker. And Klasnik, I think, played with Yurko at Fuds, and they won the men's side. I've heard really good things about Klasnik. I know he's also from the Eastern European region. I don't know if he can play in AVP qualifiers yet or not, or if he's originally from here, or what the story is on him. But I've heard that he's a very good player down in Florida. And so him teaming up with Piotr, I'm going to take Piotr in that match. So the 3 is moving on over the 35 in this case. So we got Klasnik, Marciniak. All right. So this is kind of an interesting match coming on here at the 19 versus the 46. And I say interesting only because it's our Nashville boys, Seth and Chris. Seth Durrell and Chris Ferguson. I met them playing with Ian Bicko at a Volus event. Shout out to Jay Dorsey running Volus Beach over in Nashville. It's a great facility. Go check it out if you haven't already. These are 2 awesome guys. Really big physical guys that are still kind of learning the ball control side of the game. They come in at the 19 seed, and then they'll be playing against the very last seed, and so that also makes it interesting because both of these guys have pretty much no points. But that's entirely possible that they are really good foreign players that just have not played here much, because it is Carlos and Jesus Serrano. I'm going to go with Seth and Chris because I have no idea if these are 2 very young players that have never played an event, or if these are 2 absolute ballers who are gonna go crazy tomorrow. But I'm going with who I know over who I don't, because I really have no information about these Serrano guys. But best of luck, Jesus and Carlos, against the Nashville boys. So the 19, Chris and Seth are moving on to play John Ferrari, who has come to the East Coast from California. Got the pleasure to meet that guy at Grass National. He's a super nice dude. Had some great conversation with him. And he's playing with somebody with the last name Johnson. Who's he playing with? John Ferrari and Eric Johnson. Don't know who Eric Johnson is, but according to the Volley America site, AVP America site, he's from Huntington Beach, so I'm sure he can ball. Not a ton of points, but Ferrari has more than enough to spare at 523. And if he's playing with John, I assume they've trained together or they know each other somehow, and he's probably picked up a baller. So I'm going to go with the 14 over the 19 in this case. I'm going to pick Ferrari and Johnson over Chris and Seth. So that lines up Ferrari with Piotr and DJ in the 3 versus the 14. And I'm sorry, but Piotr's made too many Clearwater Beach finals to pick against him. So I'm going to go with Piotr and DJ in this one over John Ferrari and his guy Eric Johnson. All right, we're down to the 22 versus 43. Who's our 22 is David Wilson and Skylar Lilithrop. Skylar, I got to play against again at Grass Nationals. A lot of these Florida guys came up for that event, so I got to meet a lot of cool people there. He is probably about 6'3", maybe 6'4". Absolutely flies, absolutely hammers balls. Lefty, blocker, probably could get it done split blocking as well. Really hope he stays with Beach because he is an incredible athlete to have. Seemed to have a pretty good attitude about it as well. He is playing with a guy. Let's see if there's any information about this guy. David Wilson. I don't think I've met David Wilson. He's from Claremont, Florida. Don't know much about him. He's played an event with Trey Lemon, played an event with Phipps. So I assume he can block a little bit. Really don't know anything more than that though. And he's playing against the 43, who is Cole Adenik and Max Zhukov. I've heard Zhukov's solid, but it's essentially a situation where I really don't know either of their partners. I think I'm going to go with Skylar on this one. Skylar is just such a solid guy that I just can't imagine he's playing with the scrub. So I think I'm taking the 22 over the 43. Skylar then matches up with Tim Brewster and Max Martin at the 11. Tim Brewster is a guy that I think flew under a lot of people's radars because he's kind of small. Well, he's smaller and less physical, but plays all the time out in Southern California and has really good ball control. And then he's playing with the massive Max Martin out of, I want to say, Chicago. He's wearing Bears stuff all the time, Bears regalia. Max is a super cool guy, very much an upcoming blocker. I think that somebody that should be on a lot of people's radars because there's not a lot of blockers that set as well as he does, put up as stable a block as he does, and are as nice of a guy as he is. So I'm going to go with Brewster and Max Martin over Skylar because I don't know Skylar's partner. And I think low-key Brewster and Max Martin are just they're like a dark horse team, man. The 11 seed, they could really make some noise. So Skylar, sorry about that, bud, but Max Martin, I'm going with you. And then we got the 27 versus the 38, and our 38 seed is the landmine. We have Steven Grotowski and Mike DiPiero, so two just OG NVL guys that are unbelievably good. DiPiero, I think, can play volleyball equally well with both arms, and Grotowski, I think, is an Olympian for the London Olympics, so if that gives you some idea, he's got some skills. And they will unfortunately run into the 27, who is my guy Wes Hawkins, originally from North Carolina and moved down to Florida, and Troy Nowak. And I'm sorry, Wes. I got to go with the two guys with all the experience under their belt. They always come in with almost no points, and they always just end up upsetting somebody. So I'm going with Grotowski and DiPiero in that one. But then they end up running into Dave Palm and J.M. Plummer, who I watched win a bid over at the last Big Shots of 2019. So I'm gonna pretty convincingly say that Plummer and Palm are gonna be able to handle this team because Plummer and Palm also played on the NVL and they've got a lot of experience themselves, and I know that they're still actively training, which I don't know about the other guys. So the 6th seed, Plummer and Palm, move on over their landmine Grotowski-DiPiero matchup. So that puts Plummer and Dave Palm against Max Martin and Tim Brewster. Plummer and Palm have played together and have really good chemistry, and I think that the harder packed sand really helps JM in terms of the physicality and the side out game. That said, Martin and Brewster are kind of a match made in heaven because you have a lefty that likes to shoot the ball around but can bang when he needs to, and you got a very big, very disciplined block in Max Martin. This one's tough. This one is really tough. You've got a lot of chemistry and experience on J.M. Plummer and Dave Palm's side. Palm has also made a number of main draws. Brewster and Martin have not. You got up and coming Max Martin, up and coming Tim Brewster. And I don't know how to pick this one. I think I'm gonna go Plummer Palm because they looked so dominant at that Big Shots event that they won, and I'm gonna assume both of them are coming in somewhat decent shape, somewhat decent form. Sorry, Max, I'd love to pick the 11 over the 6 in this one, but I'm going with the 6, and that puts them up against Plummer Palm, up against Piotr and DJ. And I'm actually gonna pick. Well, I'll pick this one later. I gotta get through the rest of my bracket. We're in the very last quarter. Bear with me, we're almost through it, and then we get into like the big boy matches, so like the top 8 seeds, I think. So who do we got? We got the 26 playing into the 39. 39 is Neil Mayo and Steve Van Sweden. This is another kind of landmine team. Steve Van Sweden was on the NVL, and it's a really solid Florida player. Don't know his partner though. We'll see who they're running into here. The 26 is Zach McLean and Luke Salm. Don't know either of them. I'm going to go with the upset on this one because I know Steve Van Sweden comes to play at these Clearwater events. So let's see, where does that put them? So Van Sweden wins this one. And that puts them into Evan Corey and Logan Weber. And I'm sorry, but that is a brutal draw. Evan Corey is a very much an upcoming blocker / split blocker from Louisiana. He's probably won a dozen events this year and kind of made his rounds on all of the East Coast events. Really excited to see what this guy has in store for him throughout 2021 because he's been an absolute animal this year. And he's playing with the big Logan Weber, originally from Ohio, moved out to Southern Cal. He's 6'8", really good setter, really good passer for how big he is, and always a stable block. Has a very good serve as well, and the hard pack sand is only going to help both of these guys because they're huge leapers. So unfortunately, Steve Van Sweden getting past them. So we'll go Evan Corey at the 7 seed and Logan Weber over Steve Van Sweden. So that brings us to the 23 and versus the 42. 42 is Matt Belico and Ryan, don't know how to say the last name, Kwiatkowski. I know Matt Belico is solid, don't know his partner. That's the 42, and then the 23 is Sammy Gibson and John Ferrero. So essentially I know of one of the 4 of these guys. Probably should know Ferrero or Gibson, but I really don't. So I'm going to coin flip this one. We got, oh man, we got tails again. We got another upset. I love it. So we're going 42 here. We're going 42 seed is going to win this one, Matt Belico and his buddy. But that takes them into my guy, Angel Dace, the new North Carolina legend. He's a Wilmington guy, wins a lot of the tournaments out this way, except for this year he's had kind of an off year, at least in Wilmington. Amazing finish at big shots with Bruno Amorim. And he's playing with Jeff Samuels, a blocker. He's been spending a bit of time here in Winston-Salem with a girlfriend of his. So we've gotten the chance to train with him a little bit. I actually got the chance to train with him this week in Greensboro. That was a lot of fun. Shout out to, I guess, Beach South was where we were. Scott Stevens guys. So Angel Dace and Jeff Samuels are going to be up against Belico, and I think that Jeff and Angel have no problem here. The really interesting match is Angel Dace and Jeff Samuels, who have gotten their chance to train, against Evan Corey and Logan Weber, who have played together at a couple previous events. This is probably one of the more physical matches of the tournament. Evan Corey is known as a huge leaper at 6'4", probably touches in the high 11s on this hard-packed Florida sand. Evan Corey is playing with Logan Weber, who's 6'8", jumps fairly well himself. They're going to be a really high team to match. But then you've got Jeff Samuels and Angel are both about 6'1", 6'2", and they both jump probably as high or higher than Evan does. I guess that's debatable, but they both absolutely fly. I'm probably going to be a little bit biased here. If you watch this, don't hate me. But I think Angel Dace and Jeff Samuels find a way to win this match in 3. I would assume Samuels is going to see most of the serves, but they've been practicing quite a bit. And Angel can absolutely take over the game with his jumper. That said, I mean, Logan Weber, he's qualified for a reason. He's a phenomenal player. Evan Corey is probably going to qualify. I'm just picking this upset, honestly, because I'm biased towards my guy, Angel. So I'm hoping that I'm right on this one. Let me know if I'm wrong. It's fine. North Carolina biased. So we're going Dace over Evan and Logan on that one. Probably going to be wrong about that. We'll see. And then our last little segment of the bracket, we have the 18 versus the 47. 47, there is no 47 according to the most recent update on Volley America. So that takes our 18, who is Chris Ludwig and Jose Besosa, both Florida guys, both super solid, against my guy Will Rodriguez and Martin Caban. My understanding is these two have been training together. Will is probably 23 years old and absolutely skies. He's 6'3", 6'4", kind of long and lanky, and the guy jumps out of the gym. And he's playing with the ever steady, ever stable Martin Caban, who is from South Florida. Well, originally I think from the Czech Republic, but has played a number of NBL events, has a ton of experience under his belt, and I've watched him in the semis and quarterfinals of these big Clearwater events year after year. He does really well in the hard pack sand, and I'm going with Rodriguez and Caban over the 18 seed. Good luck, Will, by the way. Love to see you do well. And then the very, very bottom of the bracket, we have the 31 and versus the 34. That is River Moore and Travis Moore. Don't know either of them. And then Austin Kahn and Robert Griffiths. Don't know either of them. So the coin will decide your fate. Tails again. Wow, this is like 3 or 4 in a row. So that takes Kahn and Griffiths through that one into Bruno Morum and Tim Baumgren, which could be the strongest team at this event. Gonna go with Morum and Baumgren. Baumgren will be probably playing full-time defense between the massive Bruno Morum serve and Bruno Morum block. That is going to be an incredibly fierce team. And unfortunately for my guy Will, I love you to death, bud, but I don't think you're getting past Tim Baumgren and Bruno Morum. So you can call them Killer Bees, Bruno and Baumgren. No, I'm just kidding. That's Brannick and Benesh. Call those guys the Killer Bees. So Baumgren and Bruno are going to end up against my guy Angel and my guy Jeff. I'll start calling this round now. Let me go through the round here before I start calling them. I got Bruno and Tim Baumgren against Angel Dace, Jeff Samuels. That's the 2 versus what would be the 7. I got Plummer Palm versus Piotr Marciniak and DJ. And I got Chris Vaughn, Andrew Dentler versus TJ Yurko, Caleb Queckel. And I got JD Hamilton and Travis Mewerder versus Eric and Andy. Eric Brannick, Andy Benesh. I'll go top to bottom on this one to call who gets through here. I think Eric and Andy are going to take down JD and Travis. I know that Travis knows both their games because he trains out there with them. But I think for every bit of speed and craftiness that JD possesses, I think Eric can at least match him. And Andy is just a completely dominant block, aided by the fact that he's playing on incredibly hard packed sand. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any stretch of the imagination because they're going to move the ball around really well. But Andy and Eric have just looked so solid. So we'll go the 1 over the 8, Eric and Andy over JD. Now we've got TJ Yurko at the 12 seed, who's taking over the 5 seed, playing against Chris Vaughn and Andrew Dentler. TJ and Caleb, I think, have been practicing here and there together. Both Florida guys. And honestly, I think TJ either in triples or doubles on grass, which is probably more similar to that Florida sand than beach really is. They took down Vaughn and Dentler in the doubles, and I think TJ's set up to do it again. So I think I'm actually going to pick the upset here. I think I'm going to go with TJ and Caleb over Vaughn and Dentler. So that actually puts them in the game to get them into the semifinal against Andy and Eric. And unfortunately for my guy TJ and his guy Caleb, I think I'm going to go with the number 1 seed, Eric and Andy. They have looked unbelievably solid and unbeaten in every single event that they played this year. I don't know if anybody's taken a match off them outside the West Coast. So I feel bad not picking my guy TJ and Caleb to go straight through, but Andy and Eric have just looked too solid. So that puts Eric and Andy straight into the semis, and then moves TJ and Caleb into the 5 seed or the 5th place match, only one away from making it to back into the semi on the other side. So we'll see. Depending on who else I pick to get knocked out, we might pick them to come out of the contenders. On the bottom half of the bracket, you've got Piotr and DJ against Plummer and Palm. And I like the chemistry of Plummer and Palm so much that I'm going to pick them over Piotr and DJ. That might be an idiot pick, but because I haven't really seen any of the 4 of them play this year. I know DJ had a really solid FUDS showing with my guy TJ, but from what I remember of Plummer and Palm, they just look so solid together that if they can run it back and be in form, I think they take down Piotr in this one. And then very bottom, unfortunately, my guy Angel and Jeff run into Bruno and Tim Baumgren. Bruno and Tim Baumgren, like I said, on this really hard packed sand. I know they haven't played together. I know Bruno's going to get served that whole time, but like that is just a brutal team to run across. I'm going with Bruno and Tim on this one. Sorry, Angel. Love you to death. That's a really tough draw. So that leaves Bruno and Tim against Plummer Palm, and I just don't think, with Bruno's serve and Tim's kind of wicked, nasty defensive ability already, I don't think Plummer and Palm are going to be able to put enough service pressure on Bruno to crack him. So I'm going to take Bruno and Tim Baumgren to make it directly through into the semis. It's really hard packed sand, so there's a lot of upsets that could happen. I could be completely wrong about this entire bracket. I'm just having fun doing this, to be honest. And I know I'm on my own, and I know it's a little bit weird, but I don't care. I'm actually not going to go through the entire contenders bracket because, one, I don't know enough of the teams to really call the matches. Two, I don't know if I've really even called enough of the matches correctly to go through it. So out of the teams that are left, I'm essentially just going to pick two that are going to make it back out into the semis. In one fifth place game, you have Plummer and Palm. And in the other fifth place game, you have Yurko and Queckel. So because of just purely odds, they have the best chances of making it back out of the contenders. But in the seventh place games, you have Angel and Jeff. You have Piotr and JD. Or DJ, I guess, Klosnik. You have Dentler and Vaughn. And you have JD and Travis. JD and Travis would stay on the same side as Eric and Andy, and they would have to play against, if they made it through their seventh place game, they would end up playing against Plummer and Palm. And I actually think that JD and Travis are going to make that magic happen. Oh, I think my pick to make it out of that side of the contenders, because it's either going to be JD and Travis, Vaughn and Dentler, or Plummer and Palm are the top seeds on that corner if I'm right about all my random upsets. If this is the scenario, I'm actually going to go with JD and Travis on the hard pack sand to make it back out of the contender side. So that leaves JD and Travis matching back up in the semifinal against Eric and Andy if they were to make it through their side of the contenders and have upset the Fraser-Connors match. And we're going to go with Eric and Andy again, which puts them in the finals. Sorry, JD. Sorry, Travis. They're just too strong of a team. And then on the other side, I have TJ and Caleb in the fifth place game. And on their side of the bracket in the seventh place games, you'd have DJ and Piotr, and you'd have my guys Angel and Jeff. I think Angel and Jeff. Angel and Jeff would be a really good match to watch against Piotr and DJ. I think Piotr and DJ take that. That puts them against... All right, here's how we're going to do this. If TJ and Caleb end up somehow in a match against Piotr and his guy DJ, leaving it up to a coin toss again. Piotr and DJ are the higher seeds, so they will take heads. My guy TJ will take tails. We'll see how it goes. Actually, F that. I'm gonna stick with the experience on this one. I'm gonna take Piotr and DJ to make it through here. Piotr is just so solid. It's hard to pick against him. And then I'm actually gonna go even further out on a limb because they'd end up playing against Baumgren and Bruno. Oh, but they'd end up playing against them on a Sunday because usually the lights go down and they end up doing the quarter, semis, and finals on Sunday. If you give Bruno a night to sleep and recover, I think his legs will be fine. computer figure them out? I gotta go with Tim Baumgren. I think it's the one. I don't think it's that crazy to think about it, but I think the number 1 and number 2 seeds here are kind of a notch above the rest of the field. You got Tim Baumgren and Bruno Morum. Huge jumping, huge serving teams against, well, not Tim's case, but Bruno's case. Very solid defender, very solid blocker. And then on the top side of the bracket, you have Andy and Eric. I'd say if it ends up being the 1 versus the 2 in the finals, because they play together so much more, and frankly, Andy is even bigger than Bruno is at a max jump. I'm gonna go the 1 over the 2 in the finals. I think the excitement in this event is really in the early rounds, and I hope that bears out. I had a lot of fun making this video. Figured I'd make one. Maybe it gets 10 likes or 10 views. Maybe it gets 100 views. Maybe it gets more. But figured I'd keep the content flowing. I'm actually playing in a fun KOB tomorrow, so we're going to tape a couple matches and maybe put 1 or 2 of those online. Anyway, if you enjoy bracketology, if you enjoy local beach volleyball, we hope you keep watching the Eastern Volley Network, and good night.